Hey everybody, my name is Dr. Gleason. I wanted to post a video. As all of you should know by now, I was diagnosed with corona this past weekend. Because of that, we're going to have to cancel in-person meetings for this first week. We will begin to meet next week. You'll see this according to the schedule I'm about to go over. But I just wanted to post this video to introduce myself, to go over the syllabus, to give you an idea of what this course is, what the expectations I have of you, the expectations you can have of me, and just to give you kind of a clarity of oversight. So if you haven't pulled up already, go under D2L or Desire to Learn through SWAN on the website. If you have any problem accessing this, let me know. I'm going to send this video. I'm going to post this video to D2L, and I'm also going to email a link to the course as well, class list, so you'll be able to access it regardless. And if you have any issues, if you're a freshman or anything like that, and you're having trouble accessing D2L, let me know, and I'll explain any questions you might have about that. So if you go under D2L, you should be able to see right under the course content, there is a syllabus link. Hopefully you've already looked at this. Essentially what this syllabus is it is a kind of an informal contract between me and you, so we can understand the expectations and the evaluations and kind of the course structure. It'll be very clear, right? Now, obviously, especially because of things like COVID that we're dealing with now, or that I'm personally dealing with, the schedule is subject to change somewhat, but we're really going to try to stick with it as much as possible. This is kind of a fast-paced course, and I want us to be able to cover as much ground as we can. I'm sorry, I actually had recorded a video like this previous to this, but I was sick and I went back and watched it, and I figured I would spare you all that. So I thought it was better to wait just a little bit now that I'm on the mend, and I wouldn't be coughing and snotting everywhere all over y'all. So hopefully that will be better than the one you could have got if I would have uploaded the one yesterday. So real quick, when we get into class, we'll go into a little bit further discussions and things like that. I did post, if you go under D2L, there is a discussion board. We're not going to use the discussion boards unless there's a university-wide shutdown or something like that because of COVID. This is an in-class, supposed to be an in-class course, right? So, but I did put like an introduction up there for myself. And then I would like this is kind of important, I would like for everyone to at least post their name and something about themselves, even if it's very simple, like your major or where you're from, just a little bit about yourself. That way I can know, right? I have some kind of way to discern who you are, and kind of some kind of characteristics about you. And also you can make contacts through that thread in there. That way, if you miss class, you can reach out and get notes or anything like that, right? So that it should be a kind of a networking tool as well, right? So that's very important. Also, we'll talk about this a little further on, but there is an attendance policy here, and it's tied to financial aid. I'll talk about this just a second, but if I see you post in there and I see who you are and see your name, that's gonna help clear you from possibly being dropped from the course, right? Because if people don't show up or I don't see that people are engaging or attending, then I'll have to drop. I'll talk about that again in just a second. So what I want to do real quick is I just want to go down this syllabus, so you'll have kind of a structural understanding of the course before we meet next week. So real quick, just pull your syllabus up. It'd be nice if you just kind of go along with me, and that way there will be the most easiest to understand, right? So this is History 2111. This is important. Now I have two sections of this history course. So when you pull this up, I want you to be able to go down here and look and make sure that your CRN number under course description and section matches your schedule, right? So that's important, that you're in the right place, right? So this is an American History to 1877. This is the first part of a two-part history, American history program that Clayton State has. And we'll talk about why we stop at 1877 as we move on. But this is part of the core curriculum, right? Real quick, I didn't mean to pass this over, but if anyone has individuals with disabilities and need any kind of accommodation, I'm happy to do anything I need to accommodate whatever people need. Just make sure that you go through the official channels, right? So you have to call that number or stop by the Disability Center, email them or something, and that way I get official documentation, right? All right. This is a 3-hour credit class. If you look at the catalog description, this is a history of the U.S. and the lands that will become the U.S., right? From the colonial period through Reconstruction of the post-Civil War world, right? It's meant to highlight basic themes, periods, ideas that have shaped American history. Focuses on the intellectual, social, political, religious, cultural history from the colonial period, not to the present, but to 1877. It gives definitely gives specific attention to competing visions of what the U.S. should be, right? So basically, what I'm saying there is this is not thematic. We're going to go very timeline through the first half of American history, but essentially what this course is we're going to talk about the ideas and the foundations and these major events that begin to happen in the early part of American history that helped shape the present, right? There are no prerequisites for this course. If you go down here and look, here is my information. I'm Dr. Christopher Gleason. My email, cgleason@clayton.edu. It's very important that you email me. There is a messaging function within Desire to Learn that people often use. I would ask that you do not use that. It's not always forwarded to it's supposed to forward to my email, but sometimes there's confusion there. If you want to speak to me, or contact me or dialogue with me, the best and really the way to do that is to email me from your Clayton student email, so it doesn't go to my spam folder or something like that, and to email me at cgleason@clayton.edu. I will receive those emails, right? So that's very important. Don't email me from a personal email. Don't email me into D2L. Your student email to my official email is the way to go. My office hours, you'll see, are 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Monday, Wednesday. If you can't meet in that period of time and feel like you need to, I will make an appointment. I can also meet through Teams or Zoom, whatever we need to do there. My office is the Arts and Science Buildings, room G2110 or 210. I'm sorry, D. Go into here, your classroom. I want you to look, it depends which section you are, where we meet, and what our class times are. I have 2 of these sections, right? I have a Monday, Wednesday, and a Tuesday, Thursday. So make sure that your schedule is the right one, that you're in the right place, right? Computer requirements. We rely on technology in this course, so you're going to need to be able to function through some kind of operating system, Windows, Apple, iOS, it doesn't matter, as long as you can use Word. That's very important, and you can use Outlook. Our email is Outlook, and we turn things in through Word. I really don't want Google Docs, all these kind of different word processing formats. Word is is what we use in here. All right. So if you have any trouble accessing that or need help, let me know, and I will make sure that gets remedied. But you have to be able to get on the internet. You have to be able to communicate through D2L, and you have to be able to use Word and Outlook programs. We have a COVID statement here. Obviously, because of the ongoing and kind of waves of COVID that have happened, it is possible that this in-person class could get put permanently online. I really hope that doesn't happen. I love being in the classroom. I thrive in the classroom. I've been teaching online for 2 years now, and I really am looking forward to dialoguing and being kind of in person with people. All right, so hopefully that won't happen, but be aware that obviously at any point, at the discretion of the university, we might have to go fully online. Hopefully that won't happen. Real quick, general education goals. History 2110, students should be able to communicate effectively using appropriate writing conventions, formats, evaluate claims, arguments, and evidence, use the results of analysis to appropriately construct new arguments, and formulate new questions, and effectively use computers and other technology appropriate to the discipline. Now, what is that saying? Essentially, what this paragraph is saying is this course will hone skills in you. We will learn, you will be taught to look at historical writings, evaluate what they're saying, be able to come up with questions about them, to be able to come to conclusions about them, to draw conclusions from them, right? And to be able to communicate those questions and conclusions to your peers, to me, and in writing, right? So that's what this course is essentially about. Those are the general education goals. You're also going to be able to learn to use or to analyze primary documents or documents that came from a certain period of time, right? And to tell why they're important. Course specific, the purpose of this course is to identify key persons, events, and changes in early U.S. Culture, right? Both secondary and primary sources. Our textbook is going to be David Emery Shai, the America, a Narrative. Remember, it's very important that you get volume 1. This is a 2-part course. So 2111 gets volume 1, 11th edition. We encourage you to use the Clayton State Bookstore for this. Obviously, you can access it through other means if that's easier. And what I do think is beneficial is if you go to the Clayton State Bookstore, excuse me, I'm still recovering a little bit, and ask for a digital copy. They'll give you a little sheet of paper. You can take it up and pay for it. I have a digital copy and a hard copy that I use both of those. And then they'll just, you can pay for it. They'll send you an email. You click a link and you have digital access wherever you go to the textbook, right? I recommend that if you prefer a digital copy, right? Either way, hard copy, digital copy, it's very important that you get this textbook because we do use it, and especially preparing for tests, writing your analysis, which we'll talk about in a minute, very important, all right? So evaluations is probably what you care about. There is essentially a 3-part component. You could argue that there's 4, but there's essentially 3-part components of your grade in this course. The first is attendance and participation. Obviously, that is a little tricky because of COVID, because of potential shutdowns, because of people getting sick. I understand all that. But if you are going to miss class, this is a lecture class. It's a discussion class. It's a engaging class, right? So if you're going to be absent, there needs to be a documented reason for that. And in bold, I give you, your excuse related to university-sponsored events, legal obligations, religious observances, or documented illness, like mine presently. In any case, those are the reasons why you should miss class. Other than that, 10% of your grade comes from participation and attendance, right? And participation is really the key word there. I want to be able to see that we're engaging each other, we're talking, we're bringing up things, we're reading the material as we go along and not cramming right before, right? So this should be a walk that we do together, right? And that's very important. If you come late, leave early all the time, obviously that's going to affect your grade, right? So just show up and be engaged, and that's really it. That's the crux of the participation grade. Primary source analysis. So this is 40% of your grade. You're gonna have 4 of them, right, throughout the semester. People always have a lot of questions about this. So let me talk about this in depth for a second, right? A primary source analysis, they're not all primary sources, but let's just say source analysis. If you go under D2L, I've already listed the first 4 weeks. You can see right under the syllabus where it says analysis sources, right? So you can click that and you'll see week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. There's 1 week. Now I might bring something to class to put against that, right? So I might bring something to class to say, well, this person's saying this. What about this? We might work in class to do that. But you have 4 official ones throughout this semester, right? 1 each week. And some weeks I think I give 2. I think especially in the last week there are 2. But essentially you're going to pick throughout the semester 4 times 1 of those, and you're going to write a 1-page double-spaced Times New Roman analysis of it, right? There's a couple things I want to say about this. 1, the first half, roughly half, should be you putting this in your own words. Who is this person? What are they saying? And then the last half should relate it back to either the textbook readings or the lectures, the discussion in class. You give some kind of context. So, if you're writing about Columbus's journals, you should be able to say, this is who Christopher Columbus is. This is what he wrote in his journals, and this is important. I don't want to just know a lot about, what you Googled about this person online. I want you to engage with the actual writing. That's the very important part, right? I want to see that you read it, you can put it in your own words, and you can tell me why it matters. That's really it, right? And I give you some leading questions here, under the syllabus part. What are they saying? What perspectives are they coming from? What were their motivations, concern? What is the specific historical event they're reacting to? This is important, right? So now you'll note that, and I'll talk about this when we get down there, there are 4 of these throughout the semester. I've posted the first 4 weeks. So for this first one that's due, we'll talk about when it's due when we get down the page here, you're going to pick one of those first 4 and write on it, right? After that, there's going to be another set of writings for the second one. You can't go back for those first set of writings and write your second one about someone in the first set, right? So that first one is going to come from those first 4. The next one's going to come from the next set. The next one's come from the next set. You can't write 4 about the first 4 and then be done for the semester. That's not the way this works, right? You have to. We're walking through it together, so that's important. Another important thing: a lot of people coming from high school, you trying to use MLA format, whatever, will use a huge header at the top that is essentially 4 big double-spaced. My name, your name, the date, the class. People think of anything they can put up there, right? I know all that information. I know what my name is. I know what your name is. I know what the class is. I know what the date is, right? I don't need any of that information. If you do that, that is not a full page, and you only write to the end of that page. That is not a full page, right? So I don't really even need your name. When you turn this in through D2L, which is how you'll turn it in, I see which paper is yours. If you want to write your name at the top, I'm okay with that, but that's it. And write a full double-spaced page analysis, right? So if you write this put this huge header up at the top and you write, 3/4 of a page or half a page and that's it, you're going to get 3/4 credit or half credit, right? Very important. And I'm a stickler about this. I'm not a stickler about a lot of stuff. I really hate those headers, right? So that being said, don't use those. All right, lastly, there's 3 tests, essentially 2 tests and a final here. The first 2 tests are 15%, 30% together, right? 15% apiece. They're going to be in class, a mixture of multiple choice and essay. We'll do those in class, very self-explanatory. And as we get closer to those, I'll talk a little bit more about them. And I will give you some kind of maybe not a full study guide, but we will address it, right? And then there's a final, which is 20% of your grade. This is going to be a take-home exam. So the take-home exam is essentially going to be 2 essays. I'm going to give you 4 or 5 different essay questions, and you're going to choose 2 of them, and you're going to write 2 pages apiece for those questions, right? So you're going to answer 2 questions. Each question is going to have about 2 pages. Now, this is going to come from the material in class. This is not an external research thing. You are going to have the questions ahead of time so you can start to outline them and think about them. The purpose of this final is so you can think about the material that we have learned in class, formulate it into your own ideas, and make a good essay on your own, right? To explain your position on something using the material that we've had in this class. It's not to trick you. It's not to make you have to cram, memorize a bunch of dates. Obviously, you'll have to talk about some time periods and people, and if you'll have to use evidence, and we'll talk about that when we get closer. But the purpose is to create some quality work and to have enough time to reflect and do that, right? So it is a take-home open book project. All right, grading. You can see that is a 10-point grading scale. Anything above 60 is a passing grade. D's to 70, C's, B's, A's. Obviously, anything in the 90s is an A. Midterm progress reports. By March 1st, I will essentially give you a overview of your performance in the class, and that way you can make a decision if you want to stay in the class and take it to the end, or if you want to withdraw from the class without any academic penalty and you can get a W, right? So a W is essentially just saying that I'm not continuing this class. If you want to do that, you have to do that by March 4th. If you do it after March 4th, you will be penalized, right? So you will get the grade that you get in the class, whether it's an F or a C or whatever it is. General policies. I give you some links here. You can talk about the student, or you can see the student handbook, basic responsibilities, code of conduct. No-show policy is important. There are a few of these that are very important. No-show is one. If I don't have contact with you by January 20th, I have to say that you're a no-show. That's for financial aid purposes, right? Financial aid doesn't want people getting financial aid and then never coming to class. So I have to have some kind of engagement with you, talk, email. Obviously, if you're not turning in work by then, that's going to be a huge red flag, right? And so if you make sure you don't get dropped from the class, right? Academic dishonesty, don't cheat. So I can use plagiarism detection software anywhere from Google to Turnitin, that will essentially use algorithms to find whether you're copying someone or not, whether it's off the internet or your friend or whatever that's turning stuff in. So just don't cheat. The thing about cheating is I am ethically bound to turn cheaters in, because of my position. If I find out that you're cheating, it's not up to me. I have to turn you in, and that's not going to look good for your academic progress. Disruption of learning environment. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff in here: slavery, abolition, women's rights, proto-feminism, all kinds of different issues. Jim Crow, indigenous exploitation. There's so much, what were the ideas that founded America? What is freedom, republicanism, democracy? And these topics people have opinions on, and that's good, right? And I want this to be able to be a environment where people can speak their mind with respect for others, without being shot down or things becoming, there being animosity or things becoming aggressive, right? So this is a space for that. Any kind of disruption of that environment, obviously won't be tolerated. COVID-19, obviously if you have COVID symptoms, tested positive, was in contact, this is completely revolutionized the way we do school, obviously here, and work. So here are essentially the 7 rules of COVID here, right? We're going to keep everything as safe as we can. I'll let you go down and look at these. Obviously, if you're feeling ill or have tested, you need to quarantine, right? As I'm doing right now. You can see in my little quarantine space here for the last week. Center for Academic Success. If you were looking for personalized one-on-one tutoring, peer interaction over anything, you just want to be able to talk about the things that we're talking about in class, or the class dynamic, or anything that you have that revolves around your academic success, there is the CAS Center for Academic Success at clayton.edu, or you can go see them in Edgewater at Suite 276, right? Lastly, weapons on campus, they're not allowed. So please look at that as well. Real quick, let's look at this course schedule. You'll notice that there is essentially 15 weeks of material, not including spring break, right? So essentially what we're going to do here, if you look at this big first chunk, Class 1, that we're actually doing Class 1 now. This is the syllabus overview. Class 2, we're going to talk about European exploration, and then by the end of this week, you will read Christopher Columbus's journals, the link which is already on D2L. So if you look on D2L, analysis sources, week 1, you can read that, right? And if you want to go ahead and do your reading analysis for your first set, you can do that for this week 1 if you want. And what you would do is you would tell me about who Christopher Columbus is, what he's saying, very important, what is he saying, specifically what is he saying in this document, right? I want to see that you're tearing apart the person's actual words, right? You're not putting words in their mouth. You're not telling me what other people think about them. You're not telling me, that Christopher Columbus was the greatest man in the world, that Christopher Columbus was a horrible murderer. You can bring material in like that if you have a perspective on that. But what I want to see is that you can tell me what he is saying in those journals, right? What is he saying about the native population? What is his motivations that you pull out of that, right? So you can have an opinion, but it needs to be rooted in the source, not in kind of larger conversations. We're going to talk about those larger conversations, but that's not what I want to see, right? And then you can relate it back to the material that you're going to read this week, and then we'll talk about as well online. Week 2, there's no class next week. That's really pushing us off again, so I won't actually see you all until Wednesday. Spanish colonization, we're going to talk about the next day, and then we're going to read Bartolomé de las Casas on the exploitation of indigenous peoples. Week 3, we're going to move into English colonization very quick. John Winthrop is the reading that week. It's already posted. Week 4, Jonathan Edwards, Sinners in the Hand of an Angry God. There's also, I have an appointment again, so we're going to have to miss one more class then, which is fairly tragic. Now, you will notice that I give you until the end of week 5 to write that analysis, that first analysis. But it needs to be over, and I say this in the syllabus, over one of those first 4. So that first analysis that you turn in needs to be a full-page analysis on either Columbus, De las Casas, John Winthrop, or Jonathan Edwards, right? When we come back at week 5, we're going to be talking about the revolution, moving towards independence. We're going to read some of those foundational documents. Week 5, 6, and 7, the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Confederation, and then the Bill of Rights. You'll also note that there is a test on week 7, class 13. That's going to be an in-class test. We'll talk about that when we get a little closer to it. Week 8, we're going to read Henry Clay and the American System. You'll notice that the reading analysis number 2 is due by March 6th, Sunday, March 6th by 11:59. We'll turn that in through D2L. You'll also notice that for that analysis, you're going to choose weeks 5 through 8, right? So you can only write on the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Confederation, the Bill of Rights, or Henry Clay's American System. Then we'll have spring break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Second Great Awakening in the Old South. We will talk about, we will read Frederick Douglass, What to the Slave is the 4th of July. We'll come down to week 11 and read Elizabeth Cady Stanton and talk about kind of the larger swath of reform movements in the 19th century, abolitionism, the women's suffrage movement, and things of that nature. Moving into 12, the Mexican-American War, and we're going to start talking about the causes of the Civil War. And that's really one of the linchpins of this class, is we're going to really think about what were the causes of the Civil War. What was the cause of the Civil War is the best way to say it. And we're going to come to some conclusions about that. We'll all come, we're going to use historical data to argue for a specific answer to that question, right? And I think you can see where this is going if you look on here. So William Lloyd Garrison, week 12, no compromise with the evil of slavery. 13, we're going to talk about the birth of the Republican Party, 1860, Republican platform. And then we're going to quickly move into the Lincoln-Douglas debates, 14, and we're going to talk about the Civil War there. And then week 15, we're going to read Frederick Douglass and W.E.B. Du Bois, Douglass's Reflections on the Civil War and Du Bois's Black Reconstruction, right? And then we will have a review week where I will kind of outline some of the potentials, give you some of the take-home essay questions, and so you can be able to start formulating those essays for yourself, and you'll see that you'll have over a week and a half to write those essays. So I hope this clears everything up. If you have any questions, please email me, questions, problems, concerns, whatnot, and make sure, remember, email me from your student email to my official email, right? And that being said, I can't wait to meet y'all and to get in here and talk about some of these interesting things. I think I try to make American history engaging and relevant, and I think that we're going to have a good time in here, and I can't wait to see you guys. All right?